we dare to challenge everyone that we are at the point in the development of our civilization where we need to start thinking about the next paradigm.
They are the present. They are now. We are all the future. The objective is to reach perhaps stages of collective creativity and collective wisdom.
Why is it that we need to divide temporarily or socially when it is the necessity to connect? The individualization puts a lot of pressure on individuals. But we share the same space and we share the same time. Inclusion rather than polarization of opinion, of values.
What I think a challenge in my personal life is, I have been thinking about this for a while, right? And every time I try to go back to my personal life, I end up connecting it to my external life, right? So that's something that keeps happening with me at all times. So for me, I think personal and external are extremely interlinked. And what I do in my personal life invariably has an impact on what I do in my external life. So just to give you an example, right? If I use a plastic straw to have my morning milkshake, that will invariably have an impact on the larger threats that we are facing of climate change, right? So just to take on from what Stefan was also saying just now, right? So there is so much pressure on individuals that we forget about the importance of collectives. And I think what I think personally is that both of them are extremely important. So we need to take responsibility as individuals, but at the same time also, walk towards collective efforts and trying to find more collaborations. So in terms of the challenges, there are so many challenges that our civilization, our world is facing today. It's extremely difficult to pinpoint one challenge and start talking about that. What I really, really believe in is the fact that every time we face an issue, what we can end up doing is try to take an intersectional approach. Right now, every time I speak with people around me, what I do notice is that there is a lack of this intersectional approach. And what an intersectional approach essentially helps us do is that it helps us recognize the overlapping inequalities that an individual has to face, and at the same time helps us understand the multiple inequalities and multiple issues that exist.
What about moving from outside of our heads and going back to our body, into our hands, into a collective acting? We are interconnecting in so many ways with this digital era that allows us to, manage a caudal of massive information, but are we really able to bring this down to reality? I would love to see a next stage of how could we not even materialize, because that's also tricky. But yes, how can we come to create something, not only from our thinking and our feeling, but into a concrete?
This is a very strong message.
We try to achieve this collective intelligence, but this is so hard due to the pandemic that we first need to take a step backwards and look at how do we get connected as a entire system, as a whole, throughout Germany, so we can achieve this collective intelligence. It's very important. It's so important to involve digitalization and this responsibility everybody has with digitalization, and it's so difficult to achieve that.
Can individual responsibility really solve the global challenges?
Well, we have as much time as we have. And there is always enough time for everything, but it depends on what our priorities are. What do we want to spend the time on? I do believe that if you are passionate about something, you'll find a way how to achieve it. Yeah, if that passion is not there, there will never be enough time for it, or there will always be too many obstacles that come into your way. We are evolving and changing day by day, and I think it's important that we don't forget that. So it's normal for our wishes or for our priorities to change.
I'm going to go back to the first question, which is, what are the problems that I face as a young person, as a young entrepreneur? I think the problem is being young and old at the same time. And what I mean by that is, coming from a context like Africa, the average age of a Ugandan is 16 years. So in Africa, we are led by young people. We have the first batch of young people that have been educated, that have access to technology, which their parents did not have access to. So as you are born into this world and as you are introduced to the reality of being young, you're also invited to the realities of being old, because now you have to pave way for those behind you, which are 0 to 1 years old. Between the ages of 16 and 22 or 24, your biology in itself will tell you that you can change the world. We've seen it with Greta Thunberg. We've seen it with so many young people that are these young millennial Gen Zs that are like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to stop climate change. I'm going to do this and that. It's because the psychology behind it is already ripe for them to change the world. What we require from the older generation are the ingredients to channel all that energy into a particular direction. Very hard to remain young and youthful with all the responsibilities. But I think the opportunity that exists for young people is, you have one opportunity, which is you're free from biases. The world has not fixed its perceptions on you and written them in stone enough. So you have a blank slate to get into problems where there are opportunities, where there are challenges, and solve them with an open mind.
It becomes difficult to stay motivated and happy at all times when you have all these different kinds of responsibilities on your shoulder. But then at the same time, I think what you would need to keep reminding yourself is the larger picture, right? What essentially your motivation was when you started off, right? I think that's what we need to keep reminding ourselves whenever things get difficult, whenever there are periods where you're just feeling low and you're feeling that nothing will work out, and there is so many things that we need to do.
We want to create a new form of politics. We don't want to stick with the old politics, and that where our 4 pillars come into play. Mindfulness, the pillar of freedom, the pillar of, there's no real word, but it's basically translated in power restriction, and the pillar of collective intelligence. 4 pillars are basically a new holistic framework, sort of a vision, how we believe politics should be and how a new societal living together could be.
Can the new spirit also change the way how we as a society function? Can the young generation actually bring this awareness as a strong push and challenge all of us who belong to this older, let's say, generation, and we are still a bit rigid about making a change?
And I think that our generation has this need to be themselves and to maybe look outside the box and find different paths, find different possibilities and work on them. And I think that to our generation, a word that something is impossible is, it's not impossible, it just hasn't been done yet. The whole community around the world is afraid of new things because, we don't know what to expect. And even though we may not like what we have right now, we know what we have right now. So it's in a way safer than the unknown that awaits for us in the future. But I think we are slowly making changes and opening that space. And I do believe in our generation.
Prioritizing things and happiness do not have to be two different things. Sometimes to be able to create a world where collaboration is at the center of everything else, I think it's important to understand other people's priority as well.
These are very strong, powerful messages.
When people who don't agree come together, the real magic begins, because then you are able to share different opinions, different thoughts, and really find the best possible way out of a situation.
Whenever there is a situation of conflict, whenever there are two people who are disagreeing with each other, it becomes extremely important for us again to have a conversation, right? And when we look at two conflicts together is only when we can actually move away from those conflicts and start to find ways of collaborating.
What we can do as a society and what we can do better, active listening and really showing empathy for one another, trying to understand why people behave the way they do, because I don't really think the majority of the people on earth are bad people.
Every right comes an obligation. So every right comes with responsibility. So we've been preaching rights, 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 and no responsibility. Every individual has a responsibility. We are free to lift each other up. We have that unfettered freedom to build each other. It's a responsibility as an individual, as a citizen of a nation, not only to amass wealth, but to give wealth. The practice of the things that we need to do really needs us to move a lot away from the conversation to piloting a lot of the things that we discuss as viable solutions. My statement, my question, my meditation point going forward is, how do we reimagine what a sense of togetherness is? I am because you are.
This is such a good statement. Are we ready to co-create a new civilizational paradigm?
Dreaming is nice, but if we don't start making action, dreams will only stay dreams. Each of us can do so many things, but when we come together, we can do everything that seems impossible at the beginning.
I think we are sitting on a very big opportunity, which is technology, and just our curiosity as human beings, which is to connect and to listen to stories, which is what we've been doing over the past couple of hours.
After this conversation, I think seeing how pumped up everyone is and how energetic everyone is about the change that we can bring, it just gives me more hope. It pushes my cynicism away. It gives me, enthusiasm. It gives me the energy to actually go forward and work towards building this paradigm.
We're not going to do it. Who's going to do it? And if we don't start it now, when?
What we need is the unity in diversity. And that is a thing that I heard a lot from all of you, really. Holistic approach, or what RISHIKA said, intersectional approach. And in every respect, really, be it from the inside, so how do I feel and how I do act with the outside world. So it's always this togetherness, not only in terms of people, but also in terms of thinking, feeling. You put a lot of strength on soft skills. We need to sense things rather than just think through them. And I also love the notion of self-responsibility and the discussion of how to get there.
What would you like to leave behind if you have a chance from this world, and what would you like to take with you to the new civilizational paradigm?
I think what I would like to leave behind is divisiveness. I would love to see more of this, which is respectful, honoring, and celebrating life.
I'd like to leave behind this lack of transparency, and something very related to that is what I'd like to take forward is our ability to be transparent.
To leave behind is the opportunity to build trust networks. What I will take with me is the importance of continued conversation.
I would like to leave behind this blame game of the youth don't understand, they don't want to listen to us, and also the youth saying the older guys don't get us, they are so slow with things. And what I would like to take forward is just the courage to be vulnerable, to be open, to try new things, and to get to learn and be curious.
What I would leave behind is inequality and disrespect. What I would want to take with me are actually all the experiences
What I would want to leave behind are inequalities and this intolerance. And what I'd essentially like to take forward from here would be the everyone understanding the importance of just speaking with each other and understanding each other.
Love to leave behind mystery in all its aspects, in all its levels, and continue with love in its unimaginable and mysterious meaning.
I would leave behind meritocracy and probably this dog-eat-dog mentality we live in. What I would like to take into this new civilizational paradigm, yes, openness and our 4 pillars.
I would like to leave behind is everything that is no longer serve us. And I'd like to take with us this incredible courage to be able to face the challenges that are ahead of us in a collaborative way.
None of us is as smart as all of us.
Our civilizations don't need to fall in order to rise again.